So I think for a first try, they did as good of a job as you could have asked for, but the problem is that's still not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thankful they got better in the second one. Returning for another try. If all dragonflies are as naive as you, I'm gonna have a mine of gems.
Well, that's quite cocky of you, Moneybags. Especially considering what he says at the end of the game. Won't spoil yet, but
what he says at the end of Season of Flame is like even funnier.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you beat Ripto and he's like, well, then I guess there's no one to protect me anymore.
Okay,
it's ironic.
So is it okay if we spoil the plot twist?
I don't think anyone really cares.
Alright, I'm gonna go on a little rant here. The plot in this game is fucking terrible.
It is...
What the hell were they thinking?
I won't say it's terrible, but I will say that it's incredibly underwhelming and feels like such a nothing plot.
It's like, why did they even bother with giving the game a plot? They could have just, like, had, I don't know, Nasty Nork or whoever come back and be like, oh, grr, I'm angry. You know, whatever. Who cares? Fine.
You're not hired for your brains, you dinosaurian landmass!
But the plot they chose, I at least credit for something original, but the original plot they came up with is garbage. Okay, so the Grendor character we've seen, who we're going to be seeing again pretty soon. I think after this level we'll have the...
No,
is there a boss fight before World 4?
No.
Okay. The whole plot revolves around him having a headache, and it's kind of alluded to in the first cutscene you see him in, but it's played off more as a joke. But no, the actual motivation for the villain, who, by the way, is a completely original character, never seen before in the series. Like, who even is this guy? Why is this happening? Where does he come from? Who knows? Who cares? Whatever.
Well, they do explain who he is at the end. Okay. Like, he was the librarian at the library that Bianca visited to get the travel brochures for their vacation. And Bianca left behind her spell book by accident, and Grendor came across it and read it upside down and gave himself an extra head and a headache. So his
okay, that makes a lot more sense, I suppose. I didn't gather that from the dialogue that I read. Maybe
there is like the fact about him working in the library they show off in the cutscenes, but him reading the spell book upside down, a random fairy in I think Summer Fairy Home tells you that.
Yeah, like the way the plot is conveyed and the actual plot itself just is so dumb. It's like some random monster that's like never seen before in the series, like has a headache. All right, and then to add insult to injury, at the end of the game, when you beat the final boss, you free Zoe, the last fairy. She says, "Well, if you just had a headache, I could have fixed it for you with my magic powers." Like, okay, glad I played this entire garbage game for literally no reason.
Yeah, like, that frankly is kind of annoying that, like, the entire crux of the game is the fairies got frozen by the evil Grendor. His reason for freezing them was he was going to take all the fairies and make a potion using them to get rid of the extra head, when all he needed to do was ask a fairy to wave their wand a little bit, and then that would have solved the problem.
Yeah, and on top of that, I find it very hard to believe that there's no other way to cure a headache in this series.
What he wanted to do was get rid of the extra head. That was why he had the headache.
Okay. Alright, that makes sense.
I feel like
he has 2 heads and 4 headaches? What does that even mean?
I feel like, personally speaking, I feel like the plot in A Hero's Tale is worse, but that's only because that game actually tries to have a plot. I don't think this game really even tries, and so it's just one of those things I can just like, whatever.
Yes.
I mean, it does have a plot, and the plot makes sense, but it's also really stupid.
Yeah.
And it just I'm kind of in a similar boat as TGX in saying that like the difference between the plot in this game and Ripto's Rage, for example, for me, and why I can criticize Ripto's Rage's plot all day long, is that Ripto's Rage was clearly trying a lot harder.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Ripto literally has nothing to do with anything and has so much wasted potential is so much more egregious for me because they actually tried. With this game, it's clear that they just threw a plot together for the game, and the game doesn't care about the plot, so why should you?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I stand. It's like, sure, I agree that it's really insulting to play through this annoying, terrible game, only to realize that the problem could have been solved if Grendor had just asked someone nicely for a favor.
Right.
I believe
it just feels like so much of a slap in the face, and that's really what I so hate about the plot in this game. It just feels like a slap in the face. That's dumb. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on now.
And I thought Exo was going to make a comment about, oh, TGX saying the plot doesn't matter. Oh, what a concept.
Well, yeah, in tomorrow's Sunday's part, I was going to talk about how in your review you probably talked about the plot in Season of Ice in your review for 20 minutes.
Well, that's the funny thing. For me, there's 3 types of plots, and I'm a story buff, so I like analyzing story, but for me, there's 3 types of plots. There's a game like this where it's so out of the way that it's clear that it's not even the focus at all, so it's like, it's just worth a quick summary.
Yeah.
There's the type of game that has a plot, but it isn't the main focus, but it's like, it's about as on par as everything else in terms of focus. Then there are games like Metal Gear Solid where it's like, it deserves like an hour-long analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
games like
that
Sonic Adventure, if you've seen my review of that, definitely worthy of 20 minutes of describing everything in detail. I hate that video, by the way.
Like, because not wanting to spoil anything, although I don't know when this is coming out, but...
Oh, this is an interesting glitch I came across. Look at that. I got him down to just the head, and then I kill the head. Watch this, but he's still alive.
What the hell?
And then the head comes back. This will happen.
Yeah.
Then the head comes back. See that?
What did you do?
Wow.
Like I used that. One of the power-ups is basically like it makes you invincible.
Yeah, no, I used that on this boss, and it like pretty much just insta-killed him, and it was no problem. What the hell? That's so weird.
Yeah, so I barely win this thing.
Oh, damn, he's coming after you.
And just look at his doofy look. Then he splits into 2 heads!
Is that supposed to happen?
I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to happen? I've never seen this boss do that before.
I haven't
so then
either.
I kill... Oh, God, I have no idea.
This is a comedy of errors.
Oh, Christ.
I had a hard time getting used to the controls in this gameplay style as well. I don't know if it's exactly the same as Spyro 3, but I haven't really played that game in a while, so...
pretty much the same, yeah. Like, you use a trigger to strafe, and then you... Well, I mean, I guess the special weapons were on, like, the circle or triangle button on Spyro 3, but... Yeah. It is a pretty faithful translation.
Yeah. Another weird issue I had with this game was how portals were too easy to go into. Like,
oh god, I had the same issue.
Like, I would just be like wandering around the level trying to, you know, get the collectibles and everything, and then I'd accidentally walk into a portal because I
nice work, Spyro. You've rescued enough fairies to help me fix the portal. Stand back.
She looks like she just smelled your fart.
I think I know where my spell book might be. After I find it, I'll meet you in the next fairy home.
Like, yeah, she does. Now that you mention it. All right, you guys ready for some more of the amazing plot in this video game?
Yes, so ready.
The amazing disappearing plot.
That little miserable excuse for a dragon is ruining my plans, and this headache is driving me mad. When I finish with those fairies and get rid of this extra head, I'll find that incompetent little sorceress Bianca and tell her what went wrong with that crazy spell book of hers.
You could just ask her.
Something she's told you to answer.
And you have to like how at the end, like, Spyro just instantly forgives him.
Yeah.
Yep, just an all big misunderstanding.
Oh, it's fine. You know, it happens. Sometimes you just get a headache and enslave an entire race.
I mean, I would do the Tom Kenny impression, but I couldn't do a Tom Kenny impression to save my life.
What does he say? Does he say something about?
No, I mean, like when we're like imitating Spyro.
Oh, right, because he voices Spyro.
We haven't been there since we kicked Nasty Nork's butt. Last one in's a Nork.
I was surprised that they got Tom Kenny back for the Reignited trilogy. I'm quite pleased with that.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that now.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Reignited trilogy because I'm sure you haven't actually talked about it on any playthrough yet.
Spyro, I heard a Rhinox say that Grendor used Bianca's book to cast a spell on himself, but he read it upside down and something went terribly wrong. Whatever it was, it made him really angry.
And that's the plot.
Yep. And I lost. Oh no, Sparks is still there, but that's annoying when Sparks dies in this game because then you have to walk into every single gym.
Yeah. Well, it's less annoying in this game than it is in like the original trilogy, I find.
Really? I was gonna say the other way around.
Really? Interesting. Yeah, I actually had a much easier time just because of like. Well, maybe I'm thinking more of Flame, where the levels are more condensed and narrow. Yeah, no. Because I don't think it really even happened to me that often in this game. It was pretty easy aside from like falling in bottomless pits all the time. So I wasn't like taking damage a lot.
Well, Spyro, this is the last adventure I can let your little friend go on. I hope he's brave enough. I hear there's a mighty hungry beetle in there that just loves dragonflies. If you want to risk his life to save one measly fairy, be my guest. Of course, it will cost you dearly.
You're not even standing in front of the portal.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that.
I've had multiple instances throughout this in Flame where I was like trying to talk to Moneybag, but it would like bring up the text box of the portal instead, and it's like, come on, just let me talk to the guy.
I think this game might have been a bit rushed.
Did you need a map?
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. We're gonna go talk to Bianca real quick. I think.
Well, let me try to do her voice.
Sure, go ahead. If I can figure it. Oh no, I guess I'm not gonna talk to her after all.
Okay, never mind.
Next time we see Bianca, she's all yours, Ahbeef.
Next time on the adventures of the pre-recorded video.
So, I hope you find Grendor soon, Spyro. I'm afraid he's gonna do something awful to Zoe.
Before we talk Reignited Trilogy, I want to bring something up from the Enter the Dragonfly Let's Play.
Oh God!
You said I think it was at like Cloud 9. You started to go on about something about like a Chrono Trigger fan game.
Oh yes.
And you never finished the story. What was the point of that?
I explained that in.
You did go back to that in the later part?
I explained that in a comment on that video. But basically, Chrono Trigger Crimson Echoes was this fan game that was developed by a group of fans as basically an interquel between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross.
Right.
It had a really interesting plot and had lots of neat little kind of name drops and references to both games. So if you're a fan of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, you should go check it out. But basically, they got 98% of the way to finishing it before Square Enix issued a cease and desist order, and they had to take it all down. But before they did, they basically put up a video playthrough of the hack with annotations on it, basically commenting on it, you know?
Spyro, a Rhinox just ran past here carrying a huge cauldron that he's bringing to Grendor. Wonder what Grendor wants with a cauldron.
He wants to make some chili stew.
I think it's kind of a ripoff of Spyro 3's plot too, because the sorceress wanted to take.
Because the sorceress has a massive headache.
No, what I mean is the sorceress wanted to use dragon wings to create an immortality potion, and Grendor wants to create a fairy wing potion to get rid of his extra head.
I just say it.
So it's like, yeah.
How does magic even work? Like, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's kind of inconsistent.
Oh, Spyro, I was really starting to get frightened. Thank you for
I guess that could be another name for Spyro 3. Spyro 3, Year of the Genocide.
Yeah.
God.
Alright, so Reignited Trilogy.
Never into that. Okay.
I'm sure you haven't talked enough about it in your ETD playthrough.
Well,
because you always get sidetracked.
Well, first of all, the reason why I brought up Crimson Echoes in comparison to, I think, was it NST. Insane Trilogy or Reignited Trilogy?
It was NST.
And the reason I did that was because with all the annotations on the Crimson Echoes playthrough, it was like, there would be like these little animation errors and whatnot.
When you see Grendor, kick him for me. I hate being cold.
whenever one of those annotations would come up and say like, oh, this animation of this character here is not finished 2%, and that was kind of like a running theme in the annotations was, oh, that little bug there, 2%, and it's just like all those little bugs added up to quite a bit, and that was like only 2% of what they had to finish, and I guess that gave me an appreciation for how much attention to detail goes into making a game. Like, you don't even think about it. That kind of goes for like NST as well, Insane Trilogy, because like you have to remake 3 games at once, and it's hard to nail down every single little detail, and it was surprising how much even the collision detection made a difference in that game.
Yeah,
before the patch.
I haven't played NST yet, but I'm currently playing through the original trilogy. I loved Crash 1.
We're almost ready to launch the observation satellite, but I need to find my friend Oscar. He has the key to start the engine. Can you find Oscar for me?
I loved Crash 1, and I'm playing through Crash 2 right now. Like, everyone...
I could really use your help, Spyro. We built a satellite to spy on Grendor from space, with the Rhinox busted up the launch pad. Can you find the 6 pieces to the launch pad so we can get this satellite into orbit?
Yeah, sorry, Ahbeef, if I may just for a second. One thing I keep hearing is that Crash 1 hasn't aged well, but I don't know, I don't see what everybody talks about. But anyways, go on.
I get it, because there are certain design elements of Crash 1 that are just retarded.
Oh, careful, man.
Like, what were they thinking with that save system?
1996.
What?
Yeah.
I think that...
What was that? Like, is it really that hard to just save after every level like they did in the
I think that came before, though, like, the type of saves we take for granted today were possible. I don't remember...
Well, what about SNES games? There are plenty of SNES games that just had
something
save
to do.
data.
Yeah. It had something to do with... I don't know.
Point.
I might have misheard something, but I vaguely remember somebody talking about hardware limitations in CDs, but anyways...
I don't know. I feel like hardware limitations is kind of a bullshit
obviously
excuse, considering Crash 2 and 3 were able to do it just fine.
You can't put a save battery on a disc, obviously, like you can with the card. But
you know, memory cards.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the idea was, well, maybe people don't have a memory card yet, we'll have passwords. But that doesn't excuse the fact that, like, personally, I don't even mind the save system in that game all that much, really. But it is something...
Honestly, I don't mind it that much either. It just... That is definitely the most baffling choice to me.
Yeah.
I think everything else about the game is pretty fantastic.
I mean, I won't go that far, but...
I personally loved it.
I want to like Crash 1 more than I do. I really... It is... Because, like, there is something about, like, that straightforward...
It feels like playing Donkey Kong Country with like an extra layer of depth with the 3D.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what... Like, even as someone that hasn't played the DKC games all that much, aside from the newer ones, I loved that about Crash 1. It felt like such a satisfying and fun game to play.
Yes.
In that sense.
And you guys know me, I'm a huge DKC fan.
Yes,
and
which is what surprises me, that you aren't as into Crash.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that I just I don't think the controls are nearly as tight, and that makes all the difference for me.
That's the other thing. A lot of people complain about Crash 1's controls being too weighty. I think the weightiness is way more enjoyable than Crash 2's, like...
Thanks, Spyro! I thought it would be frozen forever!
It's hard to describe, but whatever Crash 2 has where you have like perfect air control almost all the time, as long as you're not like moving in the opposite direction that you're going.
Then you play the those lights out levels, like that second secret lights out level where you have to collect the Aku Aku masks to light up.
Yeah, that one was pretty annoying.
Getting all the fucking crates in that level was AIDS, because you have to like jump on like these side platforms in the hallway, and it just felt terrible.
You actually only have to do that at the very beginning. Like, the rest of the level has like pretty...
Yeah, but it still took me like 10 tries to do it.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. I see it as... I don't know, maybe it's because I'm used to games like modern indie games that have a lot more like trial and error, but like Twitch precision platformers like Celeste, Meat Boy, stuff like that I'm really into. I'm more used to... I guess I'm more used to like just redoing something over and over like that.
I had a lot of trouble with this level.
I can
because, like, at this point, I was getting really frustrated with this game. And it was getting to the point in the fairy tale arc I was watching alongside this where it was just getting really... Because, like, some of the later arcs are literally just, here's a group of 6 wizards who'll have some quirky, unique ability. Let's take 3 episodes for each fight and just drag it out as long as possible. And then they got to fight with the guild master of the evil guild they were fighting, and it just went on for like 10 episodes, and I was frustrated with that too. While playing this shitty
I'm a bit glad that you that you chose to like have the pre-recorded dialogue over this, because otherwise I think this entire playthrough would just be shit, fuck, ass, bitch, fuck, cunt. Just be like you swearing.
I mean, who doesn't like a good AVGN playthrough?
It would be more like me just struggling to find things to talk about, because it's just like, even with the 3 of us, I feel like we've covered the same points like 10 times at this point in the playthrough.
And we're like,
well, there's always more to talk about.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why we're talking about like Crash now.
Yeah.
Because this game's
just
stupid.
So like on one hand, I do appreciate Crash 1 for just having like the straightforward challenge-based platforming.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
I'm a fairy, not an icicle. Thanks for straightening that out, Spyro.
But on the other hand, and here's the thing, you guys know me, I'm a completionist. There's no way I'm not going for all those box gems, because it requires
here's the thing.
a Herculean effort on my part not to 100% a game at this point. I'm serious. It is hard. It's like once that part of my brain was turned on, I can't turn it off.
The way I played Crash 1 initially was I was just not even going to bother. Like, I'd heard the rumblings about how 100%ing Crash 1 is AIDS, and I was like, I tried out a couple of levels, and I'm like, this is retarded, I'm not doing this. Then I finished the game, and I thought, well, I mean, if I look up a guide to figure out which levels have the colored gems, then going back to each level doesn't seem that bad. So I got all the color gems, and by that point, once I had gotten to playing all the levels like for the box gems, I was starting to really get into it, and I actually found 100%ing the game to be really fun. I know it's a very uncommon and unpopular opinion, but I think like Crash 1 is one of the most fun and satisfying 3D platformers I've ever played, and I fell in love with it. Which is kind of disappointing with when I went to Crash 2, and it just felt a lot more gimmicky, or I don't know. It didn't feel like it had that same level of intensity.
That challenging level design definitely does not carry over. They made it easier.
It feels more like a traditional game, I guess, but that's not really what I liked about Crash, because the traditional game elements.
I kind of see what you mean. Yeah, like you're used to that. You're playing Crash 1. It's kind of like this very straightforward. It's not about gimmicks in each level or anything. It's just about really challenging timing-based platforming.
Yeah.
And then you play Crash 2 and 3, and it's more like, well, in this level, you gotta dig under the ground to escape the bees, and in this level, you have a jetpack.
The fucking bee level in Crash 2 made me want to shoot myself. And I find 100% in Crash 2...
Nicely done, Spyro. Now the rocket can launch. Oh, and here, you could have this weird thingamajiggy I found clogging up the engine valves.
I'm sure people will yell at me for this, but I found Crash 2, like, so far, 100% in Crash 2 is kind of annoying with how all the, like, different pathways and stuff like that.
Well,
it's just, I don't like being teleported out of a level near the end of it when I have all of the boxes.
I think
except for the ones after that point.
The appeal with like the Crash trilogy is actually similar to the Spyro trilogy, I think, in the sense that the first one is a very pure experience. The second one tries some more, but doesn't quite nail it. And I think the third one kind of continues on from the second one in a more...
Hi, Spyro. I bet Cranky sent you to find me. Well, I don't have his keys. He's always losing them and blaming it on me. If he just kept them in a jar by the lab door, he wouldn't have this problem. I do have this blue gyroscope you can have, though.
Yeah, and...
Beanie.
Yeah, in a kind of in a more refined
Spyro 3
way.
is the more like a... refined but like more experimental game.
I mean,
there's definitely a lot of parallels.
In both cases, I think 3 is my favorite, but I can see the appeal to both the other ones in both cases.